If you are saving for a home in Orange County and you feel like you're just never going to get there, you are not alone. Most first time buyers that I talk to, especially those healthcare workers, believe that they need 20% down. And because of that, they have been on the sideline for years. You want to know the truth? Most of my buyers get their first home with far less of a down payment than you might think. Let's dive into it. One of the biggest reasons that people delay homeownership isn't because of the housing market, but it's because of the incorrect information about how much money that they actually need to have saved. I hear it all the time. I'll buy when I save up to 20%, or we're saving, but at this rate, it's going to take us 10 more years to get that down payment. And every year, prices rise, rents increase, and that gap just feels bigger and bigger. So today, I'm going to simplify this with real numbers, real programs, and real examples for Orange County buyers. Now, let's first address the myth that stops more first time buyers than anything else. You don't need 20% down to buy a home, even if you're not a first time home buyer. You don't need to have perfect credit. You do not need years and years of savings. The reality is, most OC first time buyers, including the RNs, LVNs, admin staff, and medical assistants, purchase with 3% down conventional loans, a 3.5% down FHA loan, or there's also access to FHA's No Money Down program. These programs instantly make homeownership far more achievable. But let's put this into perspective. Here's some actual real numbers based on very common OC purchase price ranges for first-time homebuyers. So for our first example, let's look at a $550,000 purchase price for a condo. It's pretty common and doable in Orange County. 3% down is $16,500. 3.5% down is just under $20,000. Now, your closing costs are going to vary for different reasons, but you could comfortably say that the range that you would need for your down payment and closing costs, that all-in investment, would be anywhere between $25,000 to about $33,000. Now, let's look at another example of a townhome style condo, and let's say that that's right around $625,000. 3% down would be $18,750, and 3.5% down would be just under $22,000. And after accounting for closing costs anywhere in the range of maybe $10,000 to $13,000, the total all-in investment would be anywhere from $28,000 to maybe $35,000. Most people are shocked when they see these numbers, especially for those that are trying to save 20% down, because that number would easily be over $100,000 for most Orange County homes. Another interesting misconception is that your savings need to come from one single account, either a savings account or a checking account. But really, there's a lot of options, and they all can be combined as a collective to help towards the funds that you need. So here's what's actually allowed. You can have your checking and a regular savings account. Even those small but consistent deposits, they always add up. If you're getting bonuses or you're saving that extra money that you get for the shift differentials, those are really common for healthcare workers, and it's absolutely usable. You may have access to your 401k or your 403b for your retirement plans, whether you're going to do a withdrawal or you can tap into that money for a loan to be able to purchase your home. What's great about being able to tap into your retirement as a loan is that while you will have a payment that you have to account for in your budget, and they're likely going to make those deductions every time that you have a payday, we don't have to count that against you in our debt to income ratios when qualifying. So taking a loan against your retirement funds does not negatively impact your purchasing power when qualifying. Gift funds are another option and can also come from multiple sources. So whether that's parents, close family members, or even a life partner, they can help with your down payment and or your closing costs. We just need to have them provide a signed letter and then being able to have a paper trail of those funds. And sometimes when we have somebody being a donor for a gift, they don't want to provide their entire bank statement because they don't want want someone else to see what their transaction history is. That's totally fine. We have different options of how we can help with paper trailing the donor funds coming in, and it allows us kind of that flexibility to find the best option for that particular situation. So, as long as it can be documented and as long as we can do the paper trail, we're usually able to use the funds. So, even if saving has felt really difficult, hopefully this shows you that you likely have a lot more options than you originally thought. So, let's talk about the numbers that you really do need to target. It's that down payment and closing costs, but also a small safety cushion. Healthy starting point for most Orange County healthcare buyers is around $20,000 to $35,000 all in for that investment. It definitely depends on the price range and the loan type, but this really is the sweet spot for most first-time buyers that I work with. And here's what surprises most people. You don't need it all today. You can build toward it over time, especially if you're wanting to purchase at some point in 2026. And something else worth mentioning, when it comes to the escrow period and that time frame of when you actually get your offer accepted throughout the loan process and then actually having your loan fund and then getting the keys. In the very beginning, you have your earnest money deposit, and that is a smaller amount that's needed up front, but that's not the time period that your entire all-in investment is required. So throughout the loan process, which is typically a couple weeks, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so you have your initial earnest money deposit due in the beginning that you need to wire in, but then you have a couple weeks to get the rest of that money together. So then it is wired in typically after you do your final walkthrough and sign your loan documents. So you have a couple weeks to get the donor gifts together, or, move money with your 401k, or needing to get all of those statements together to show the different savings or checking or high yield accounts that you're going to be using, or even if you had to sell some stocks, that's also an option as well. So as long as it can be documented and liquidated, we can use it, and then you have that little bit of time to work with through that escrow period. Now, depending on your goals, you might be ready to get going right away, but you may need to have a little bit more time to work towards savings if you're wanting a single family home, or if you absolutely want to avoid mortgage insurance. With it being a write-off potentially on your income taxes, it might be better to just pay the mortgage insurance rather than continuing to wait. If you have credit challenges, or if you're really needing that lower monthly payment and you really need that higher price point, of course, then you're going to need to wait probably a little bit longer. Or if you're just becoming self-employed, or you're relying on a travel nurse income, because we need to have at least a year of seeing that income, usually we might need to wait a little bit longer. But even with trying to account for all of those different variables, we almost never need 20% down in order to make the numbers work. Now, you may need less saved if you qualify for down payment assistance, or if you're going to be using FHA's no money down program, or if your family can provide gift funds, or if you're going to be receiving a bonus from your employer soon, or we're getting near the time where you're going to have that tax refund. As you can see, you have a lot more options than you probably initially realized. What holds most OC renters back is not the housing market. It's believing that they need a savings number that is completely unrealistic. Once you know the real target, everything becomes possible. If you want clarity on your exact numbers, your down payment, your closing costs, and your 2026 home buying plan, here's your next step. Use my booking link below to schedule a 15-minute phone consultation with me, where we will go over all of your concerns, answer those questions, and help you plan those next steps. My name is Amber Jones. I'm a certified mortgage advisor, and I'm here to help inform you, empower you, and help you solve that financial obstacle you're currently facing wherever you're at on your homeownership journey. I hope you found this information helpful today. And if you did, I would love it if you liked the video, subscribed, but most importantly, share it with a friend. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.